we have the Get Jack Sayer from the Saffron Slam 5. So our get here went 4-1 as well, and it was an unusual, war horde list, to the degree that it had Zodgrod, and we finally see some Breaka Boyz. This is where I really want to see them, and he has some other fun units on here. So let's take a look at his list real quick. We have a Ghazghkull Thraka, War Boss with Follow Me Lads, Zodgrod Wortsnagga, 4 trucks. We have 2 unit of Breaka Boyz. And then, which I think, let's just be honest right here, while we're at the Breaka Boyz speak conversation here, now that we've had some time with them, this is the detachment, in my opinion, for Breaka Boyz. This one, right? You can run them in other ones, but this is the detachment for Breaka Boyz. Their 2 attacks is just pretty rough in any other detachment. Dread Mob allows you to at least get great AP, but there's still armies that just have 4 up invulns. You still want the volume. Volume is always the answer for orcs. So Warhorde gives you that. These guys are glass cannons, in my opinion. Therefore, fighting on death matters. If you're going on your WAAGH turn, one Breaka Boy unit you activate first, the second one gets killed in an interrupt, which is counter offensive, and then you fight on death. So that's where the values I'm speaking of here. Surprising they only had 1 war boss though. Then he had a burner boy unit. The spanner had a custom mega blaster. 5-man units of flash kits. Love to see that. My boys running SWAT teams up in here. We have the big 22 model brick of Gretchen for Zodgrod Wortsnagga, again making an appearance. Love Zodgrod. Check him out in our playlist. He's fantastic. 2 10-man minimum size unit of Gretchen, followed by 3 Mega Nobz. You have the combi weapons and the power claws. Not my favorite profile, but it is definitely good. What I want to say here is he paid for the 3rd Mega Nob. It's not a wrong choice, not even a bad choice. You can get more mileage out of Ghaz if you do that sometimes. And it also makes it easier, like harder for the opponent to really gauge how much they need to invest to get to Makari and to separate Ghaz from him. So I think it's totally fine if you do it. You have Nobz with power claws again making another appearance, and then you have a shock jump Dragstas. A lot of the time we see this in our Discord. It's so funny. Shout out to our Discord for there. Is that people bring up the shock jumps, and some people are immediately like, "No, they suck," and then other people are like, "No, just try them, bro." And I've tried them because a lot of the time I'll try anything that I'm either going to cover or really just anything on our codex, because I have to get at least a first-hand account of an opinion. I can't just hate on what I see on paper, right? And shock jumps, I took an RTT, and that RTT I won, and they were good. It worked if you understand that it can just get where it needs to go wherever it wants, and don't rely on any kind of damage for it. You got to be willing to lose it, but it's totally playable. So if you got one, throw it on your list, have fun, especially if you're just playing, Garage Hammer or RTTs. And then he has 3 units of Storm Boys on this list of 5-man. So he was going 5, 5, 5, 5. I really, really like that. And he still had my boy Ghazghkull Thraka, which is fantastic. Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in the description, 5% off in the discount, because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. So let's take a look. He got 3rd, and I will say, yes, I understand he lost his first game and people would be upset and be like, wait a second, is that considered submarining? Blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? I was thinking that, but guess who he, ended up having to fight game 1, right? Guess who he had to deal with? He was dealing with our boys, the Space Marine, Ultramarines, Vanguard, Spearhead. The reason why I took exception with this is because you probably don't know what this list does, really, off the top of your head. You're coming into the event cold, you're ready to go, and you're like, oh, Vanguard, oh, I think you guys come on and off the table and shoot the crap out of me. Is that correct? And it's true. So we have Manius Calgar with this Ultramarine Vanguard Spearhead, and then Euro Ventress. We have Intercessor Squad, another Intercessor Skull Squad, 2 5-man units of Assault Intercessors with jump packs, a Centurion Devastator Squad with the twin last cannons as their options, Company of Heroes, which usually I think goes with the Euro Ventress. And then we have an Inceptor, 2 Inceptor squads. One of them is with the Plasma, and then the other one's with the Bolters. They're the big 6-man units. They guys can only drop in 6, but it still matters. And then we have a 3-man unit of Inceptor squads, Infiltrators, an Invader ATV, Reavers. Reavers are just funny boys. They have an aura. They can reduce your your OC, and they can make you take battle shock tests. So be on the lookout for Reavers. They can end up being really annoying for us that like to flip primary, with Storm Boys or with Breaka Boyz, and then a Scout Squad. So a lot of the time, not knowing what your opponents can do can really be detrimental. This does have reactive moves, and so if you're not playing on a mission that you can like take up table space right away to block off their firing lanes, and they get the initiative of you and they blow you up, that would really suck. I would think that something like a shock jump Dragsta could help in this if you can just get to places you think the Vanguard is going to get first and use your Storm Boys there. But nonetheless, it's a tricky, and anybody that's running this in an effective way, which the Space Marine player was for the most part, you know, it can end up catching you off guard and you just end up losing. So you know, hey, if a lot of the time knowing is half the battle, as they say, right? So we move on to his second matchup, which is all uphill from here. So we had Grey Knights. It looks like the new Grey Knights. So we had Brotherhood, Tech Marine, Castle and Crow, Drago. Drago gives them like +3 inches to their charge maneuver, and then Castle and Crow, I don't know why I had a brain fart away does. Hope chat tell me, or I'll just remember in a little bit, hopefully. We have a 5-man unit of Terminators, followed by a Strike Squad, 2 units of Inceptors, and then we have 3 baby carriers with those Dread Knights, followed by a Purifier Squad as a big Purifier Squad. I believe this is where that Castle and Crow goes, right? And then he gives them +1 to hit. I think so, something like that. And then we have a Purifier Squad, 2 of those 5-man units of Purifier Squads. I think if you're not playing like the typical Grey Knight, where they like the initial detachment from Index, where they get like a reactive running away and picking themselves up with Mr. Deimos and such like that, they can't really time us to keep the distance as much, and our change of the wall really impacts that. Breaka Boyz are just picking up their baby carriers. They still have to like try to pop the trucks to even get to anything good. In this case, Nobz can come through because those guys are only toughness 8 or 9, I believe. Either way, +1 to strength, getting to 10 on the wall will make the difference nonetheless, because I know they're no more than toughness 10. So love this. 5-man unit Storm Boys run down Purifiers, take up space. Ghazghkull Thraka, getting in their face matters a lot. A lot of the time they have to send Drago or, you know, the Paladin baby, sorry, not the Paladins, the baby carriers in there, and then that's when you really start to flip the game. So shout out to him. Then we go on to the third game. We have Space Marines Iron Storm Spearhead. So, you know, they still got good shots. Yeah, Brandon. Yeah, Aaron, I mean, they have shock jump drags to you get. So they have Burner Boys on this list. So I know you would like that list. Then we have a Tech Marine, followed by an Assault Intercessor Squad, a Heavy Intercessor Squad, 3 Ballistic Dreadnoughts. These guys are so cheap for their points. I think they really, really shine in like basic vanilla Marines. Because if they were, I would say Gladius, Allenstorm, they're going to do really well too. Because they have strength 5 for their frags, and then their last cannons, they get reroll hits when something's full health. Then there's 2 up armor save, so quite effective for Marines. 2 units of Brutalis Dreads, followed by 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts. It's kind of funny because the Redemptor Dreadnoughts like the same cost as a Telemon Dreadnought, just about, I think it's like 5-point difference as a Telemon Dreadnought from Custodians. It's like, I guess, okay, okay, whatever. And then 2 units of Scout Marines, followed by 2 Arbinger Warglaves. So you can see he brought big beefy stuff. I'm telling you now, and we were talking about this in the prediction videos before, and when I was breaking down the data slates and what I was thinking about, I was saying stuff's gonna get thick, stuff's gonna get heavy, tough, and you're gonna have to expect to break people apart with either Ghaz or Snaggas or Tank Busters or Breaka Boyz. So it was a great time for GW bringing these units, these data sheets in for us, and it's making a difference for all these lists. They have either Busters or we see Breaka Boyz here. Not that you have to have them. Trust me, you don't have to have them as success, but they play into what the meta is right now. So he ended up getting a 97-point win there. Great job by our Git here. And then we move on to his 4th game, which was again Death Company, but this is the Plague Company. We have a Biologist Putrefier, a Terminator in Sorcerer armor, followed by a Foul Blight Spawn, Lord of Contagion, a Mortarion, and then Typhus. So again, heavy on characters on Death Guard. You got to expect that. 1 Brick of Plague Marines, followed by a Rhino, followed by 2 10-man units of Cultists. They try to get bodies back by bringing a lot of Cultists. 1 3-man unit of Death Shroud, followed by a 6-man unit of Death Shroud, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. So they said we're going to keep the firepower. Target prioritization for their indirect matters a lot. If you don't have like a redundant Storm Boys or Boys for Sticky or Grats and stuff, they choose like your 1 unit of Storm Boys and they just pick them up. That could actually impact your game. In this case, he had 3 units of Storm Boys, so he wouldn't be able to do that so easily. And he had Burner Boys and little trash like that. And then he had a big unit of Pox Walkers, which is cool to see. Like I said, they would go with Typhus. So nonetheless, us having access to damage 3 now means that we have a chance to go into these Terminators or Mortarion and start to actually delete them. You will have to expect if they have like a sorcerer right here, they can actually reduce damage. So your flat damage 3 doesn't just straight out clean out a Death Shroud Terminator, but a lot of the time you might have to actually ignore Morty and just kill everything else. So between the War Boss's Power Claw attacks and the volume, if you pop critical 5+s or if you have lethal, there's a good chance you can just volume out and chew right through those Death Shroud, even if they reduce damage. If not, you can see how many units my Git has on here. 4 trucks, 3 5-man Flash Kits, Burner Boys, and then 3 5-man Storm Boy units. He's playing the primary, he's playing the secondary, he's killing all of the Death Guard scoring units, and then he's just making Death Guard kill him with not enough activations that they have and volume of attacks. And you don't really have to invest into killing into Morty, only if like things are really in position that you can just put everything into him and dumpster him. Other than that, you have to just, you know, play the mission, boys. Play the mission. Trust me, play the mission. Never forget, as an orc player, train bodies for points all day. So 95-point win there. Great job by you, Jack. And then we move on to his last game. He has the Chaos Demons. And yes, we have Slanesh. So you have to expect to see these gets on the table. You know, they're a little cheeky. So we have 2 Keepers of Secrets and Shalexi Hellbrain, followed by a Mask, a Misk of Slanesh, whatever. Demonettes, Plague Bears, Beast and Nurgle, 3 units of Fiends. We have 2 3-mans and then the 6-man, 2 Chariots, and then Seekers. So this is right on the line of being like where it wants to be most effective. These Plague Bears and stuff being thrown in here, you know, in reality, you do actually want it to be mono, and that's because they have a strat where they can actually do the old Iron Hands thing, where they can actually shed wounds from their big monsters onto nearby units. So you would use your Demonettes, you would attach characters to them so they have more wounds, and you can bleed the damage you know, into those guys. So you can do like 18 wounds into those dudes, and then you can give them access to like a 4-up Feel No Pain for some one time, you know, not one time, I guess, because it's a 1 CP whatever phase, but you're doing it for one model to try to keep that alive, and that's a controlled rate of attrition. It's not necessarily as annoying as like a whole gun line that can't die, but it's very, very annoying. He doesn't have the max amount of fiends either. These chariots are like T6 with 7 wounds and a 4-up in one, I believe. So these guys are like orc trucks would act as maneuver, where they run around the field, get in the way, are harder to kill than you would expect, but they're mounted also, so they're not even vehicles. So in this, if he can fully invest in Slanesh can be quite terrifying. So yeah, so some places are ruling that big demons get to roll Feel No Pains before passing the wounds. So there you go. So this is always something that gets annoying when they break into the game, when you can pass off wounds. What I will say is at least it's in melee and not shooting, like as an army that wants to do that, so you can still play the rest of the game and such. And nonetheless, our boy pulled it through and beat the crap out of this list, getting an 83-point win there. The fact that orcs can kind of just do a volume of damage and kill everything else on the table means even if he wants to do that, you're like, oh, you're gonna pass the wounds, I'll just punch through all those dudes too, and then, you know, I'll punch you if you're still left over. Either way, I killed all your scoring units and I'm still winning on primary and scoring, so let your big demon at the end fight me and run around. But fighting on death matters a lot. Warhorde is fantastic when you have like another melee matchup, in my opinion, in that sense. And then tactics is really good because you can shoot, but in this case, you're fighting on death and you're also fast to get the initiative. Keep in mind that he has Zodgrod, so Zodgrod actually into like Demonettes is kind of scary. If you get the wall going, all those Grouch are getting the strength 4, and then you get +1 to hit, +1 to wound from Zod, and then you're putting just a bunch of wounds onto like Demonettes, or you're putting your pistol shots and picking up chariots. So it's valuable to take advantage of something like Zod, but also you're like acting as a safety net, and they have to charge into you because they don't have shooting, and you get to reactive and charge in response into them. So fantastic, love it, and great job my Mr. Jack, going 4-1, getting 3rd place. I know you lost the first one, but hey, you know, sometimes you can get caught off guard by something cunning and sneaky like them Vanguard Space Marines. So let's go over this list one more time for the diversity of the wall. We have Jack Sayer with his Ghazghkull Thraka Warboss to follow me, Zodgrod Wortsnagga, 4 trucks, 2 Breaka Boyz units, 1 Burner Boy unit, 3 5-man units of Flash Kits, 2 minimum size units of Gretchen, 1 maximum size unit of Gretchen, 3 Mega Nobz, 1 big brick of Power Clawed Nobz, Shock Jump Dragsta, and then 3 5-man units of Storm Boys. So many model units on this list, good activations, good board presence. I really like the creativity behind this and the fact that he can score, but he can also crump. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!